Almost exactly a year ago, I had 152 unread books. And then I read 3 in that video and it went down to 149. And I've still got some books to read here. It's fun that this is almost exactly a year later because last time this was my TBR shelf and now it's my 5-star shelf. I moved all the books I want to read down here. I put the very first copy of the book I wrote in the middle of it. And not because it's on my want to read list, I just wanted to put it on my shelf because it's pretty crazy that I wasn't there last year. Some of the books on this shelf are the exact same as they were last year, but I actually did read a lot of those, which gave me hope. But I pulled out some of the books that I want to read the most, and usually this is where I would like shop my TBR shelf and figure out what I want to read, but it's no question. Out of everything in this library, I know exactly what I want to read right now. Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. She wrote this series on my bookshelf. It's one of my favorite 6-star series, and this is her first adult fantasy book. I could not be more excited to read this. So let's just start reading. I'm on page 205 of Alchemy of Secrets. I am eating this up and I just really need to slow down and be present while I read this because I don't think I'm processing the fact that, number one, this book is solidifying that she might be one of my favorite fantasy writers and just writers in general because I can't find other authors, please actually let me know down in the comments, who write in such a magical way. Because fantasy I feel like feels like fall and it's darker themed sometimes, but hers are so whimsical. And this one in particular kind of has the trope that Knives Out, one of my favorite movies, has, where her father always led her to like play games where she would have to find Easter eggs and solve mysteries. And that particular kind of magic and whimsy is just so fun. And it's hard to do because it's hard to create mysteries that are hard to solve, obviously. But yeah, I really just need to savor this, and it's quite short. It's her first adult fantasy, but it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like the characters are older. I feel like nothing in the content has gotten too different, but I am eating up the plot. There's so much mystery going on. I can tell there's gonna be some crazy reveals. There already have been some crazy reveals, and it's just no notes. And look how pretty. I'm obsessed with this. I'm now on page 287. I don't know who to trust. I feel like I'm gonna have a jaw-dropping gasp moment soon. If I don't, I think I will be disappointed because there's so much distrust going on that I feel like there has to be a switcheroo of some sorts. I just don't know how. I have like fuzzy theories going on in my mind, but I'm excited to solve the mystery. Guess who didn't know this was a series until the last line of the book? Amazing last line. Absolutely stunning. But yeah, this is a series apparently. I don't even know how people know that it's a series because I didn't see that anywhere, but it also makes sense because when I was getting to the end of the chapters, the love interests that were introduced, none of that was tied up, and I was like, wait, what happened to them? Which makes sense that it's a series. I read this like a month before it came out, and now I'm probably gonna have to wait an entire year to get the second book. I'm not mad that it's a series though, because that means I get to read more books by her. I just really wish I could have it right now because this was so great, and the mystery is still a mystery. So many things are still confusing. Wow, what a magical book though. My favorite part was when she went to a magical hotel and suddenly there was a button that appeared that said press for popcorn. When someone else showed up, it said press for whiskey, and she was like, why did it change? And it changes based on the person's favorite food or drinks. So whimsical, so fun. It honestly felt like it was just our world, but magical, and it was set in Los Angeles. And the way that the hotels were described and old movie theaters, it was just, I wish I could watch this. It feels like watching an old movie. I think I'm gonna give this 4.5 stars, just because I feel like there's so many unanswered questions, but it's definitely like a 5-star book for the start of a series. Like it'll probably just be a 5-star series overall, but just for this individual book, I was at the end a little unsatisfied. Obviously you're supposed to be. So yeah, I think 4.5 stars, but I absolutely loved this. It comes out October 7th and I highly recommend that you read it. After finishing this last night, I picked up Fearful by Lauren Roberts. This is a novella that comes after Fearless, which I read earlier this year. This was a chunky one, and this is a young adult romantasy series, but it has novellas in between. This is the first novella, and now there's this one with some new POVs. So I think I'm like 70 pages through it. I was just reading it so fast because it's so good. She did something at the beginning that I wish I could just spoil it so that I could talk about it with you because it was so clever, and I feel like she's extra witty and sarcastic in this one. So I'm really excited to read this, and I'll probably be able to finish it, and then I want to read the next book. I'm just in the mood to binge read right now, almost like a 24-hour readathon without actually having to stay up for 24 hours. That's the vibe today. finished it. Wow. There's something even more fun about the novellas because, and I've said this so many times, but I feel like because I'm not super plot driven, I really like to follow characters. And of course, I want the plot to be good. But if it's a stronger plot than characters, I probably don't like it as much. And with fantasy, it's typically more plot heavy than like a romance book. So with her novellas, since they're shorter and they don't need to be this like grand 500-page fantasy book story, it's really just character work, which is my favorite thing ever. And the character work in this was insane. There is basically a villain of the story who we get to see in this one, and I ended up empathizing with her and rooting for her and understanding her, which I could have never predicted I would do following the entire trilogy. So that was insane. And I think I can talk about this. It's not a spoiler. You find out on chapter 1, but she personifies death. Like death itself is a character. And that was the part where I was like, how did she even think of this? This is so creative. So yeah, I loved this. And not only was I giggling at some of the sarcastic lines that Death was saying, but there was also some new mysteries that sprung up from this one. So I didn't even know there was more after this. I thought Fearless was the last one. I think I said that in the video where I read this because I didn't know this was coming out, and I think there's even more. So I'm really excited to see what comes next because this was so good. When a series becomes this long, I feel like it just clumps into like, this is a 5-star series for me. It just clumps into that. And I love her novellas. So that was super exciting to get to read that. And then I just sat back down on the bed, looked at the little pile of books I have spread out, and I was like, I'm just gonna read the first sentence of The Heartbreak Hotel by Ellen O'Clover because I got this for the book of the month and it looks so cute for fall. And I was like, I'm just gonna read the first sentence. I read the entire chapter and then the chapter after that, and then I was like, I really like this writing. When was the last time I picked up a book when I've never heard of the author, read the writing, and liked it so immediately? I can't remember. So now I'm on page 30 and I just want to keep reading it, and I'm really obsessed, which is just shocking. I was not expecting this at all, but I love the premise of the book so much, and it's set in Estes Park, Colorado. I think I'm saying that right, which I've visited before, and it's so beautiful, so I can just picture it. And on chapter 1, you're seeing Louisa's long-term relationship crumble because he cheated on her, and he's this musician rock star guy, but they live in this beautiful house, but she doesn't have a job. So when they break up, she's like, on one condition, I just want to keep the house. But then she would have to take over the rent, and she doesn't know how she would do that. So she comes up with this idea to make the Heartbreak Hotel, which would be her beautiful house with 6 bedrooms, and make it a bed and breakfast, essentially. And the landlord of the house, his name is Henry. He's a veterinarian, and I think that is who the love interest will be. But I love every aspect of this so far, so I'm so excited to keep reading. I just checked the weather. It's 90 degrees outside and I'm wearing this hoodie. I'm now on page 88 of The Heartbreak Hotel, and I'm about to head out to go to Sephora and Barnes & Noble, do some reading. But I do feel like I need to leave the house to keep on reading because I'm having a little trouble focusing. So let's go do that. Now on page 240 of The Heartbreak Hotel. I feel like this used to happen a lot when I would read romance books, where I love the setup of something. I love the beginning. I love establishing the setting and figuring out what their job is, what situation they're in. And like I said, the writing was so good that it hooked me in super fast. But now as we move into the middle of the story and we're moving from heartbreak of her ex-boyfriend to the landlord Henry, who is the new love interest, she was writing the tension between the characters super well. So I was very excited to see how we broke that tension and then developed an actual relationship between the characters where they got to know each other. But unfortunately, the moment where I feel like we crossed over from them not talking about liking each other to talking about it was super fast. Like, it basically seemed like Henry had liked her since she like signed this lease with her ex-boyfriend, and he has all these memories of her that we don't get to see. But Louisa, the girl we're following, doesn't really even know anything about Henry, and suddenly they just like really like each other. And I thought that moment was gonna be a big conversation about their backstories and their family and where they came from and how they're feeling, but it wasn't. And now since then we've had like 2 spice scenes, and I'm like, wait, Louisa, you don't even know anything about Henry yet. And also, this is the Heartbreak Hotel, so people who are going through a breakup or have lost someone are coming to this place. And Louisa made it through counseling school, but she hasn't passed the exam yet, so she can't technically tell people that she's a licensed therapist because she's not yet. And an aspect of this book is how she gives people advice when they come to her Heartbreak Hotel. But everything so far has been like super surface level in my opinion. Like things that I feel like you're just expected to say are being said, and I wish we saw more excavation of where their emotions are coming from and why. For example, these two college-age girls check into the hotel, and by hotel I mean the house, and this one night the girl who's been quiet this whole time comes to Louisa and is like, hey, I just want to talk to you about how I'm grieving my breakup in comparison to my best friend. My best friend is super angry, but I don't feel super angry. And she basically just tells her like, how you guys mourn and show emotion will be different, and that's okay. And that's where it ends. Like I wish that was like the beginning of it, and then she dives deeper and like uses her counseling degree to, and obviously she's not a licensed therapist, so she's not even really supposed to, but I wish we saw deeper layers than just like everyone is gonna react to a situation differently. But I think I still have 100 pages before being done, so hopefully Louisa and Henry will get to know each other better. I've already gotten to see more of Henry's backstory, but in terms of like actual sentences that Henry says, we don't even have that much from him. Like the dialogue parts are actually very short, and I just want him to like even say a full paragraph. So I'm gonna keep reading and we shall see where this goes. No more kissing, I want some talking. A part of this book that's really well written is her older sister, Goldie. She is so annoying, and I attribute that to her good writing because it feels realistic in a way that only a family member could nag you the way that they can. Every time she comes onto the page, I am so annoyed by her. Guys, stop kissing and start talking. Okay, I finished the Heartbreak Hotel. You know how I said they were kissing and not talking? Well, the conflict ended up being about her not knowing a pretty important piece of information about him. I haven't had the urge to do a spoiler review in so long, but in order to give this review, I want to discuss the things that happen in it so bad. But I just looked it up, and this book comes out at the end of September, so I feel bad putting spoilers in a video when it's not even out in a bookstore yet. So my review is that I think this book is very cozy. It really is just set in this Colorado house, not many other locations at all. And I thought the most compelling aspect of this was the familial relationships that she had, because she has that older sister Goldie who really tries to control her, but out of love, and then a difficult relationship with her mom who will call her from time to time and ask for money, and she feels like she has to be there for her mom, whereas her older sister wishes that she would just not pick up the phone when she called. And I thought that was really well done. And then, like I already said, when the actual romance started picking up, I wanted them to just have some more conversations, and because they didn't have many conversations, there was a conflict around there not being a pretty important conversation. I think in this instance it was particularly difficult because as the reader, it's really easy to predict the information that our main character Louisa doesn't know. So when you're in her POV, but you know more than she knows, it feels hard to empathize with her because you got to that conclusion so much quicker than she did, and then you're watching her come to the conclusion way after you as the reader, and then grieve and be angry at all the characters for not filling her in on that piece of information that we already knew. And I try to be a very empathetic reader, so even if I wouldn't personally make a choice or I wouldn't have the same reaction to something, I try to just read it as like, well, I'm reading this character's personality and how they're responding to something, and I'm trying to take into account everything that would lead them to have a response like that, because you don't have to agree with every single choice and feeling a character makes and has to like a book. If anything, that's the point of reading fiction, is like you're getting outside of your own thoughts and feelings. But I think for it to have landed better, we as a reader also shouldn't have known the information that Louisa, the main character, finds out. So that part was frustrating, but then afterwards, when more family stuff comes up, I feel like the book started flowing again really nicely all the way down to the end. So just the middle part really kind of got me there, but the beginning and the end were great. So I feel like this was still a very fun and cozy romance book, very well written, and I'm gonna give it 3 stars. So far I've read these 3 books off of my TBR. What should I read next? That's the question. It's time to choose my next read. This is getting satisfying because I feel like every book that I took down off my shelf and laid out on my bed, I have been reading, like boom, boom, boom. Read all of those. I read these. So here are the options. Broken Country. I'm really confused by this book actually because I thought it was way more dense than I think it actually is. I think it is actually a lot about a romance story, but definitely heavier and more emotional, so don't know if I'm in the mood for that. The Compound is a thriller that's been compared to Love Island if you were actually trapped at that house and didn't know how you got there. I read a sample of this while I was on the 50 States and 50 Days road trip, and I've liked it so far. I'm very excited to get back to this one, but I don't don't think I want to read a thriller right now. Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. I absolutely love this author from the Atlas 6, but sometimes she writes things that are so out there that even me as a big fan, it can get confusing. And this one follows a few different characters, and I started this one. The writing is very unique, honestly pretty hard to follow, so I'm still gonna read this. I think it's great for the fall. I don't think my time is right now. The Academy by Ellen Hildebrand and her daughter Shelby Cunningham. This is set at a boarding school. It's Ellen Hildebrand's 31st book. I'm extremely excited to read this one. I'm leaning towards this. What Happens in Amsterdam by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is the most beautiful copy of a romance book I think I own, to be honest. My friend bought this for me when she went to the Netherlands, and I've never seen prettier sprayed edges in my entire life. Like, that's gorgeous. The whole book is so pretty. I read the first chapter of this because I was so excited, and this is definitely an option in the upcoming future. And then we have Passion Project by London Sperry. As you can see, I'm still trying to read some of the more like summary looking romances before we're super deep into fall. Not that I will stop reading them, I love them, but I'm actually 80 pages, probably a little bit more into this because I've been audiobooking it, and at first I really liked the audiobook narration, and now some of the choices she's been making with the guy's voice is throwing me off a little bit. So I have paused this one, but my bookmark is in here. So can you guess which one I'm gonna choose after all that? I'm gonna start The Academy. I'm way too excited to start this. And because it's getting a little bit cooler outside, I think I'm actually gonna read this outside because I am way too pale for it not even to be fall yet. And I feel like you have to read an Ellen Hildebrand book out in the sun. Since I'm reading such a preppy book, I thought I should wear my polo shirt. There's this student that we're following, Charlie, who just transferred in, and she has a shot at being valedictorian, and other than that, she does not fit in with the kids who go there. And she dresses so overly preppy, as if she just looked at a textbook of like what people wear to prep schools, that it's ironic. And she even does 2 braids. So my outfit is kind of inspired by her today. But I'm on page 259. I am eating this up, and I'm so glad because I was a little bit nervous. Over the summer, I tried to pick up The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand. It's one of her very popular books, and I just could not get into it, and I thought it was because of the multiple POVs, and the way that she writes is so specific. She does the thing that Stephen King does where there's just a bunch of page breaks and not that many chapter headers, and her sentences are very to the point, third person POV jumping from person to person, and I just couldn't get attached to anyone. But in this book, I got scared that I would feel that way about 10 pages in, and then I just kept reading, and I honestly was reading fast because I was trying to just push through that fear, and I'm glad I did because I am eating this up. I do feel attached to the characters. There are so many names, but somehow I'm keeping track of them because I feel like she's doing such a good job of making them memorable and making their names match to be memorable, if that makes sense. I absolutely love the setting, the rich school drama. Everyone has their secrets, and it's just working so well, and it feels so bingeable. It's just moving fast. I'm gonna keep on reading. I finished The Academy a couple days ago, and I keep thinking, why was this book so perfect? For me, most of the time, multiple POVs is difficult because there's always one that you don't like that much, or they're hard to remember every single storyline, every person's name. But this one, every single character I was equally invested in. I somehow could remember everyone's name, which I'm not good at normally. The setting was so fun, and this is definitely on my end, but I thought they were at a college boarding school. I don't know if that's a thing. I'm probably picturing Zoe 101. It's a high school. But sometimes this is exactly the type of book that I want to pick up that I have a hard time describing because it's not like it was so light and fluffy that was why it was fun. There were topics that were difficult, but they didn't read difficult. It had enough depth to feel real, to feel weighty, to feel like you're really invested, but not too much that you felt heavy. It was fast paced. Every single scene, there was some sort of drama happening. Oh, also I think this is going to be a series because there was at least one thing that was definitely not resolved. If it's not a series, that's confusing, but I think it is, which I'm so happy about because I would love to read 5 books in this series. I don't know, it was just perfect. It was fun and cozy, fast-paced, felt connected to all the characters, felt transported to this world. This was just done so well, and you could definitely see her daughter's influence in the Gen Z lingo being used that I don't think Ellen Hildebrand normally uses, but they're talking like high schoolers. This is 5 stars for me. This was so good. Absolutely recommend this. Makes me want to go back and read The Hotel Nantucket, even though it's not summer anymore. It makes sense why this is her 31st book. I really enjoyed this. So we got 4 books off my TBR, all hardcovers. It was a great week of reading. I guess I should do this more often.